On October 31st, 1983, columnist Abigail Van Buren, better known as Dear Abby, published a column titled A Night of Treats, Not Tricks. In her article, she reminded her readers that tonight somebody's child will become violently ill or die after eating poisoned candy or an apple containing a razor blade. Dear Abby was the most widely syndicated column in the world. It was published in over 1,400 newspapers and read by millions. But was what she wrote actually true?
Seeing kids filling the streets trying to fill up their trick-or-treat bags. Of course, we want everyone to be safe this Halloween. ABC 10 News reporter Natay Holmes takes us through what parents should keep in mind to make sure their kids get treats, not tricks.
When I was a kid, Halloween was one of my favorite holidays. I enjoyed all the movies and themed episodes of TV shows. My school always had a harvest fest where we got to dress up in costumes and play games. I remember when the Scream movie came out and about 10 people in my class dressed up as Ghostface, even though none of us had actually seen the movie. But like every kid, my favorite part of Halloween was trick-or-treating. My mom, being very cautious, would only let me and my sister trick-or-treat at the houses of people we knew. Luckily, we lived in a very small town and we knew almost everyone, so there was never any shortage of Halloween candy. But when we got home, my dad would always search through our candy for anything dangerous. Adults always warned us that people could hide drugs or razor blades in our candy.
As trick-or-treaters fill their buckets and bags tonight, UC San Diego Health says parents should be mindful of what's inside. These bright color pills are called rainbow fentanyl, and it's designed to look a lot like...
The only thing we ever found was a Ziploc bag of pills that turned out to just be good and plenty. Every year I heard stories about kids dying because they trick-or-treated at the wrong house. Even our teachers warned us about it, and the school would send home safety sheets about how to trick-or-treat properly. But none of my friends ever found anything bad in their candy. So are there people out there poisoning Kit Kats and hiding razor blades in Milky Ways? And when did this start? Well, believe it or not, people have actually been arrested for tampering with Halloween candy. But there's more to the story than meets the eye. The first documented reports of tainted Halloween candy that I could find occurred in the late 60s. During that time, the New York Times published an article claiming that 13 apples were found in New Jersey and surrounding areas with razor blades inside of them. This caused a minor panic, and New Jersey's Governor Richard Hughes responded by signing a law making it illegal to booby-trap apples with mandatory prison time for offenders. But a closer inspection of these incidents leaves a lot of room for doubt. In almost every case, no one was injured, and it was the kids, not the parents, who found the razor blades in the apples. Investigators who followed up on these cases years later determined that most of them were hoaxes. It was often the kids hiding the razor blades in their own apples, then claiming to have discovered them, which explains why no one seemed to get cut. It's likely that most incidents of sharp objects being hidden in candy were done by the children themselves. But that didn't stop the rumors. In the 80s, the panic spread even further due to the Tylenol murders.
Cyanide-contaminated Tylenol has been responsible for 3 deaths in the Arlington Heights area. Do not take Tylenol until further notice.
Arlington Heights police demonstrated tonight how they have been warning residents throughout the day. And in Chicago, police notified all officers of the threat.
This product may be contaminated with cyanide and should be destroyed.
The first death yesterday morning was in Elk Grove Village, a 12-year-old girl, Mary Kellerman. And then in Arlington Heights, the deaths of 2 brothers and the critical illness of one of their wives. Now tonight, a 4th death in the DePage.
In 1982, a series of deaths occurred in Chicago, initially for unexplained reasons. It was discovered that all the victims had taken Tylenol from the same bottle. Other people became ill after taking Tylenol as well, and in total 6 people died. The Tylenol had been tampered with, and someone had replaced the tablets with potassium cyanide. This led to a recall of Tylenol from stores everywhere, and the introduction of tamper-proof seals. To date, no one has ever been convicted of the crime, although police investigated several people, including Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. After the news broke, there were copycats and other people died from consuming Excedrin and Sudafed laced with cyanide. The incident scared Americans so much that the sale of Halloween candy that year decreased by 20%. However, that year there was only one report of suspected Halloween candy poisoning, and it turned out to be a mistake. A child was brought to the ER and tests showed cyanide in his system, but the doctor later admitted that he misread the report. The child hadn't been poisoned at all. But this wasn't the first time someone had been accused of poisoning Halloween candy, nor would it be the last. Timothy Mark O'Brien died on Halloween night in 1974 after coming home from trick-or-treating. He had eaten a pixie stick laced with cyanide. Another pixie stick belonging to his sister was also found to contain cyanide. O'Brien's father, Ronald, had taken his kids trick-or-treating, but couldn't remember which house they had gotten the pixie sticks from. Police grew suspicious when no other trick-or-treaters in the group reported finding these pixie sticks. Police discovered that Ronald had recently taken out a large life insurance policy on his children and had also purchased cyanide. Ronald O'Brien was arrested for the murder of his son and executed in 1984. Another incident of poisoned Halloween candy occurred in 1970, but just like the previous case, it wasn't the work of a madman. On November 5th, 5-year-old Kevin Toston lapsed into a coma and died 4 days later from a heroin overdose. Police discovered that his candy had been spiked with heroin. The police panicked, believing a psychopath was trying to drug children, but few media outlets reported the findings of the investigation. Kevin's uncle used heroin, and it was determined that Kevin had most likely gotten into his uncle's stash and accidentally poisoned himself. As far back as 1964, there were stories of children being poisoned while trick-or-treating, but none of them were true. In the 1964 case, a woman gave out poisonous ant buttons to trick-or-treaters she thought were too old to be trick-or-treating. She wasn't actually trying to poison anyone, it was meant as a joke, and she even told the trick-or-treaters what was going on. She also handed out things like dog biscuits and steel wool pads. Nevertheless, the woman was charged with child endangerment. In 1991, 31-year-old Michael Sherry died after eating some of his children's Halloween candy. Fearing poisoning, numerous families in the area dumped their children's candy. However, an autopsy later revealed the cause of death was a heart attack. A year earlier, a 7-year-old girl died while trick-or-treating, and police initially feared poisoning. They canvassed the area and confiscated candy from other children. It turned out the girl died of natural causes. Another 7-year-old girl collapsed while trick-or-treating a year later. A urine test revealed traces of cocaine in her system. The media reported the incident, but later it was discovered the lab results were incorrect. Perhaps the strangest story of all occurred in Hercules, California in 2000. A group of trick-or-treaters were given little bags of marijuana disguised as Snicker bars. When police investigated, they concluded that the person handing out the candy didn't know it was drugs. The marijuana was traced back to the dead letter office of a local post office. When items are sent through the mail without enough postage and no means to notify the sender, they are sometimes donated to charity. The post office had donated the bags of marijuana, also believing they were Snickers bars.
Well, they may look like your favorite candy or snack, but tonight they come with a new warning from the DEA.
It could be just one treat out of 1,000 in your child's loot. Investigators want you to take a really close look because it could be laced with marijuana. There's a chance of it. Justin Checker joining us live in Tampa with what parents need to know. Justin.
Jen and Keith, good evening to you both. We know children cannot wait to fill up their candy bowls this weekend, but before they get that sugar high, parents should make sure the candy isn't laced with something else. During trick-or-treating this weekend, Central Florida law enforcement do not want children to be tricked into eating candy that contains THC. The DEA is issuing a public warning after federal and state law enforcement in the region made several seizures in recent weeks of what's commonly known as edibles. The problem is the packaging.
In October 2010, police and local news stations warned parents to be on the lookout for marijuana edibles in their kids' trick-or-treat bags after police confiscated a collection of edibles that resembled candy. There was no evidence anyone planned to distribute them on Halloween, but it still caused concern. From 1958 to 1988, there were 78 reported cases of Halloween poisoning, with only 2 fatalities. One was Timothy O'Brien, whose father murdered him with cyanide-laced pixie sticks, and the other was Kevin Toston, who accidentally poisoned himself with his uncle's heroin. Almost all other cases were pranks. There have been more instances of razor blades and pins found in Halloween candy, but as mentioned earlier, they were almost always hoaxes. The media still reported them, and in recent years, social media has spread misinformation further. It's easy for children to insert sharp objects into their candy, take pictures, and share them with friends. In 1995, newspaper columnist Ann Landers published an article warning parents about trick-or-treating. She wrote, "In recent years, there have been reports of people with twisted minds putting razor blades and poison in taffy, apples, and Halloween candy. It is no longer safe to let your children eat treats that come from strangers." Like Dear Abby, Ann Landers was a popular syndicated columnist. Many people don't know that Dear Abby and Landers were actually twin sisters. Abby Van Buren's real name was Pauline Esther Phillips, and Landers was Esther Pauline Lederer. Many hospitals and police stations have x-rayed bags of Halloween candy. While only one hospital in Maryland has ever reported finding something suspicious, no arrest was made. It's likely the person who brought the candy hid the item, possibly as a test to see if the x-ray would actually find it. There was even a hotline people could call if they found foreign objects in their candy, but it was shut down after 10 years due to lack of serious calls. There have been a few legitimate incidents of foreign objects being found in candy. In 2000, a man was arrested in Minneapolis for hiding a needle in a chocolate bar, and a child actually did bite into the candy, though they received no major injuries. The man was later found to be mentally incompetent and was institutionalized.
Police in Connecticut make an arrest that serves as a warning about Halloween candy danger. 37-year-old Jason Raz is accused of placing razor blades in candy containers he handed out to children yesterday in Waterbury. Police say Raz claimed the blades accidentally spilled into the candy bowl he used to hand out treats. He is charged with reckless endangerment. No children were injured by the razors.
In 2019, a man was arrested for putting razor blades in Halloween candy, but the razor blades weren't actually inside the candy, they were just mixed into the bowl of candy he was handing out. As crazy as it sounds, it appears this was actually an accident. Even though there is little evidence to suggest Halloween candy is dangerous, people still panic every year. So why does this irrational fear persist? Well, to help explain that, let's look at air travel. Statistically, airplanes are by far the safest way to travel, but 4 out of 5 Americans claim they feel safer in a car than on a plane. This fear can be attributed to the fact that people feel less safe in situations where they have no control. Going trick-or-treating carries some risk. When you're given candy or anything in general, there's always a chance something might be wrong. But the thing is, most of us eat in restaurants all the time and never check our food for razor blades or sharp objects. Yet, given the amount of activity in a kitchen, your odds of being poisoned or injured from eating in a restaurant are much higher than from Halloween candy. The purpose of this video is not to encourage people to go trick-or-treating without fear, but merely to investigate these claims. Make no mistake, trick-or-treating is actually dangerous, just not for the reasons you might think. More children die on Halloween than on any other day of the year, but it's not from candy, it's from car accidents. There are over twice as many traffic fatalities on Halloween as on any other day of the year, so both parents and children need to continue exercising caution. But at least you can rest assured that the apple or candy you're getting is no more or less dangerous than what you would buy in a store. Thank you for watching, and if you've ever found anything strange in your trick-or-treat bag, or if you have any interesting Halloween stories to share, please let me know in the comments.